This is a podcast from Rover.
Welcome to Parents We've Met, where we chat about the magic and mess of parenting. Today on the couch, we have a legend of an entertainer and singer, a diva in all the good ways, Jackie Clarke.
Oh, that was a very nice introduction. Thank you for that.
Welcome. I mean, I think diva, it can get a bit of a bad rap sometimes, but I reckon we need to claim it back.
Yeah,
it's a good word.
It's a problematic word because it means so many things. It can mean all the bad behaviour or it can mean all the good behaviour. And I always define it as inhabiting your own space 100%. That's being a diva. So being very authentic.
Well, that works then.
Yeah. Loud and proud. Yeah. But sometimes people think it's, outrageous demands and M&Ms in the dressing room and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, no.
I feel like you are someone who always has a few pots of possibilities and projects boiling away on the stove at the same time. What have you been working on recently?
Well, funnily enough, I've just finished a one-woman play called My Brilliant Divorce. This is the second one-woman play I've done, and I've discovered that I really like the challenge of learning something that's the size of Ben-Hur and making my brain really work. I actually do think of it like keeping Alzheimer's at bay just by... Because I've done it twice now, and every time I do it, it gets harder. So I'm in recovery from that. It was incredibly successful, and I'm really proud of myself. And now, funnily enough, I've got two projects on the go that have the word diva in it. And one is a little solo show called Jackie Goes Prima Diva, which I kind of came to in my sweatpants on my couch during COVID, thinking, what if I never get to sing in front of people again? What if the whole concept of live performance is now going to be forever changed? And it freaked me out. And I thought, the moment I get out of this, hellhole, I'm going to book a room and I'm going to sing all the songs I've been too scared to sing before because they're too big and they were done by women that are too amazing and I couldn't touch them. So I did a real old school show. It was like Judy Garland, Barbara Streisand, Peggy Lee, Kate Bush, who was my world at 11, and just put it into the show Jackie Goes Prima Diva. And it's the little show that keeps going. I've done a whole national tour. I'm doing a season at Centrepoint Theatre at the end of the month, and it's my happy place. Just me and a piano player singing all these amazing tunes. It's just like in a gown.
In a gown?
In a gown, Jenny.
I'm jealous.
Gown. Oh, look, every woman should have a gown that they can sing a Judy Garland song.
Yeah.
And
I have got a gown.
Well, you should have more than one. Let it be so.
Thank you. Because we're also going to talk about parenting and families, what we'd love to know, Jackie, is what's the makeup of your family? Who's in it?
Well, I have a partner of some 30-odd years. I still refer to him as my boyfriend. I don't know, because partner seems strangely businesslike, and we're not married and we probably never will be. He used to ask me and now he doesn't. So his name's Grant, so we've been together for, forever. And then one day he came from a large family and he said, I think when he met me, he took one look at my childbearing hips and said, I want to have children with you. And I never got to a point in my life where I thought, I want to have children. But when I met Grant, I thought, if I don't have children with this man, I'm never going to have them. And then my twin sister got pregnant and rang me and said, I'm having a baby. And I thought, for some reason, a little click in my brain went, oh, well, there's no excuse not to do it now, which is random, but that's how twins are. You sort of go, oh, she's developmentally, we're always moving ahead at the same time. And I know that it seems really random, but at that point I thought, okay, I can't actively say I want children, but I will see what happens. I will open myself up to the possibility. And, I got pregnant within about 2 seconds. And then I realised, having my first son, Stan, I realised, well, for me, I thought, I've been basically treading water in my 20s. You can't carry on life, in my opinion. I felt I couldn't carry on in the same way as I'd been doing in my 20s, which was basically incredibly self-involved. And then once you have a child, the awesome responsibility of creating another whole human, I realised this is what I needed to do I'm moving forward, and it was amazing. And then we had another son, Ernie, about 2.5 years later. And so we're a cliche family of 4, 2 boys. I never imagined I would have sons. I just immediately assumed I would reproduce myself and have daughters. Hasn't happened, but my boys are beautiful humans, and I've discovered a whole new respect for men through them.
How old are they now?
Stan is 24 and Ernie's 21.
Wow.
So what does parenting look like for you now that they're in their 20s?
Mostly it's about keeping my mouth shut, really. I'm learning to, boundaries, basically learning to not say what I think straight away, if indeed ever.
There's a lot of shutting up.
And there really is. And it's just, I realise, because I'm a lot as a person, and I'm very verbal, and I talk before I think all the time. So parenting has been, especially now that they're older, I'm basically accepting their choices, and if I have any reservations, I will pick my moment and be very, very, very careful if I say anything at all. But generally they kind of come into line with what I think in their own way anyway, which is great. But even if they don't, I'm learning to sort of go, yep, this is your life, But that's hard.
Oh, it's hard. You're doing well.
Is there a particular time in the journey of parenting that if you could go back, you would just soak in that moment for a little bit longer, a particular stage with the boys?
I think those early days when they were both old enough, and we sort of started developing this family sense of humour, like the way we do things, and those days when you're sort of, it's the joy of sharing the things that you loved when you were little, and when Christmas is still sort of full of magic and excitement and wonder, and birthdays are the same, and everything is like, the first ice cream, all those things that you go through. But certainly that family sense of humour that develops, and it carries on forever. But at the time it's growing, it's magic.
Yeah. I love a little bit of an inside joke with my kids. Where something will happen and we'll look at each other and crack up.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty special.
Yeah.
I've had a sneak peek in your home, and it's full of colour and laughter and lots of art. What was your home like when you were a kid? What was it filled with?
Cats. Mum brought us up on our own. There were me and my twin sister and my older sister. And literally I have no memory of my older sister. She was just shut behind a door going, get out of my face. Because there's 8 years between us. So I think just to go backwards, my older sister Tracy didn't live with Mum for the first 5 years of her life. She was born out of wedlock, classic thing. In the 50s, Mum had her, and she lived in the country with her sister, with my Auntie Marge, and Mum was single. We had the same father, so Mum and Dad met, whirlwind relationship. She knew he was not marriage material, so she never told him she was pregnant. So he didn't find out about Tracy until she was about 3 or 4. So anyway, they married. They never should have married, but if they hadn't, I wouldn't be here. So they had a very short, disastrous relationship. But by the time we turned up, this is a very long way of saying that my sister had only had her parents to herself for a very short time, and then suddenly twins turn up. Can you imagine the ignominy and the pain and the kind of harumphiness of 2 babies at the same time? And then Mum was on her own from when we were about 18 months. So hence my sister's door was pretty much always shut, and I don't blame her. So we grew up with solo mum in a state house in Gisborne, and, she did her absolute best. I remember going to school, and we always had shoes, we always had lunch, we always had a raincoat. Lots of kids didn't have that at all. So we grew up and went to Waikirikiri Primary School in Gisborne, and it was, I suppose, we didn't use the term low decile, but it was probably no decile. But Mum was, she was, I don't know. It's hard to say a good parent because of the standards of today. She was probably lacking in lots of ways. But we always had 3 meals, and all the animal husbandry stuff and the caring and the basics. She really took care of all that, and we had this great wacky family sense of humour that came from her. And I feel the person I am today, which is pretty free and able to express myself, I think that comes from her giving us enough space to do that. So, she was in many ways, she was a great mum. In other ways, she was terrible. She was like a hoarder and ran a really messy house. And when we got to a certain age, we would do all the cleaning up around her.
Is that where the cats come in?
We always had multiple cats, so everything was covered in cat hair, and these cats were just everywhere. And then she went through a dog phase, but she thought of dogs as cats, so the dogs were never trained, and they were like a nightmare. And honestly, it was feral.
We have a saying that encourages parents, because we realise that none of us have done it perfectly. Some are doing better than others, but showing up for your kids is a really important thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And she probably to her detriment, she never went back to work. I mean, and at a certain point she did lose a connection with the outside world, and she lost her confidence. But she was there for us 24/7. She was a hero, really, in that way.
What kind of music made up the soundtrack of your growing up times?
It was 2ZG, Uncle Adam McLaughlin on the radio, coming live at you. Just the radio. And I learnt to sing just listening to the radio, because that was, we had one of those little suitcase record players, those little tiny, nothing kind of, transportable. And I remember my first record was probably Jesus Christ Superstar, and I knew all 4 sides of that vinyl off by heart. I can still break into Good Caiaphas, the council waits for you, the Pharisees and priests are here for you. But enough of that. And then Mum had a cassette, a best of Rod Stewart, and he was wearing a pink satin shirt. That was also big. And I had a Billie Holiday album somebody gave me. But mostly it was listening to the radio. So when I was 11, I remember Wuthering Heights came out by Kate Bush, and I remember thinking, stop the press. I've never heard anything like this. And just her whole way of dancing and the clips and she was so, as I say, 100% herself, and I'd never heard anybody like her. So she's one of my first big role models. Yeah. So, but there's lots of music, but we just grew up singing along with stuff and just singing along with the radio.
Cool. Now, you've got a sidekick, Robin, your twin sister.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up with her around you? And
well, it's hard to describe when you're a twin, because you realise it took me ages to step back from that and go, not everybody has this person that they walk alongside in parallel for their entire life. And it's been something for our partners to have to get to grips with, because, I have 2 significant others. I have my twin and my partner. So yeah, it's a weird thing. So we very much operated as a unit, for good or for bad. Like our skill set was shared between the 2 of us, and we went through everything, certainly in the formative years. Then we got to a stage, I guess, early teens, where we kind of, had our own friend group and we're doing our own thing. And then when we left school, we both went to Wellington. She was studying nursing and I was at Vic doing political science and history. And then she went off to Melbourne with her nursing buddies and then travelled the world. So we were separated until she had her first child. And then the homing instinct, kind of comes back, and she came back to Auckland. And then Mum moved up to Auckland, and we were all together. And now we actually live together on the same property in Te Atatu. We've got 2 little houses on the same section. And for the life of me, I don't know why we didn't do it when the kids were young. Why didn't we set up a little family compound? Because we basically lived in each other's pockets. Our kids were sort of pretty much the same age, within 6 months of each other. Mm. She's got 2 girls, I've got 2 boys. There's one day in the year when their birthdays are all in sequence. So at the moment they're 25, 24, 22, 21, and there's one day when they go, they're all in sequence, and that's the day of the year we have a big birthday kind of party. So cool. But I wish we'd, hindsight's I think the world is moving towards this idea of, when it takes a village of social housing. I think social housing is the future of parenting. I firmly believe that, where the whānau way of doing things is, it's just so sensible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why we didn't do that when the kids were young, I don't know.
Yeah. I would have imagined that there'd be a lot of music in your own home with your boys, with them growing up as well. And, music, I think, can be a real tool. Like your kids are going to bed, you put a calm playlist on, or there's a bit too much energy, so you put music on and you dance the sillies out. How have you used music in your own parenting, and how have you seen the magic of it?
It's weird because music is my job, so at home, it's funny, I'm not the one to put music on. My partner's always been that person. At home, I sing. Apparently, I sing all the time, and it irritates the pants off all of my family. So my main experience of music in the home is my kids saying, "Shut up, Mom," because I can't listen to something without putting a harmony in, or, When they were little, they were obsessed with the Wiggles. So I had to let a lot of music into my life that I just personally was not to my taste. High Five, obsessed. Like they've always loved, pop music and dancing around and all that sort of stuff. And I've got this great clip of them when they were, I don't know, Stan must have been about 3 and Ernie's like 18 months, or maybe slightly older, and they're pretending to be a rock band. So Stan, from a very young age, has been a drummer. So he would get drumsticks and he would drum on the couch arms. All of our couch arms were wrecked with him. So there's this video of him drumming on the couch arm, and Ernie's got we had a little tiny sort of 3-quarter guitar. They're acting out to a Clash song and just like being a rock band. And so they've always had this idea of rock and roll kind of thing. We never did the playlist thing. Reading was always the thing that got our kids to sleep, like multiple stories. And then the habit of reading to themselves. They're both really into music, but in different ways. Like Stan, he drums and he does sing, but he hasn't really found a way of doing that with other people. But he drums all the time. He's got an electric kit in his room, headphones, he drums, maybe an hour a day, he's really into it, and he sings really well, but I'm just waiting. Again, I'm shutting my mouth, but I'm waiting for him to find other people to make music with, because he's obsessed with it. Whereas Ernie doesn't really sing. He's like his dad. He's sort of got it. If you asked him to sing a tune, it goes like this: "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy." You get the drift. But he loves music, and he has the most amazing taste. So if we drive anywhere, I'll say, well, you put your playlist on, because I'm always amazed by his choices and the things he finds, and he's got really beautiful taste in music.
Very cool.
What were those first early years when you were a mum to the boys? Were you still touring? Were you still gigging? What was the landscape like for you?
Well, as with all things in my life to do with work and parenting, nothing was planned. So a very happy accident happened with Stan. When he was born, I was doing masses of voiceovers. So it was, and still gigs, but it was always like a one-night thing. So I had a little Moses basket, and I would just take Stan into the studio with me. Everybody loved it when you turned up with your baby. And all you had to do was just chime the feed right, so that he was like sleepy and, like gurgling cooey baby, and the producers wouldn't even listen to what you were doing. They'd just go, ah. And then, a lot of the stuff I do is just one night here and there. So after a certain period of time, you could organise it so I could slip away for a night. I mean, I've never been a sole parent. We're both freelance creatives, so we've both always been hands-on. I've never felt like I'm the woman at home having to deal with that world and while someone else is outside. We've always, when we first had Stan, we literally spent the first 3 months staring at him together, doing everything together. If I was up feeding, Grant would be up, and we would do everything together. We had this one book by an Australian woman called Robin somebody. It was like our childbirth manual. Every decision we made together, poring over the book. And it seems ridiculous, because when we had Ernie, we were thinking, God, there's nothing to do. There's they're so easy. You just feed him, and you look at him for a while, he goes to sleep, you change him, whatever. But the first, with Stan, it was like we were all hands on deck. And we've always been like that, basically. Either one or other of us, or both of us, has been there. I remember when Stan was young, when he was a baby, I was still feeding him. I was doing things like, I did the Harry McCleary shows. That's 3 shows a day in a theatre. Yeah, it's like full on. I just had a bed brought into my dressing room, and the baby, Stan, would be brought to me, and I'd feed him in between shows. Then I'd sleep for like 30 minutes. Then I'd get up, have something to eat, put my makeup on again and do another show. Which now I'm thinking, was I insane? But it was actually, I don't know, I was in my mid-30s. It was all doable. And, in our business, in showbiz or the creatives, if you step off the train, it's really hard to get back on the train. So, and I remember at the time thinking, wow, I'm actually able to have more continuity in professional and personal life than I ever thought I would, which is yay. But again, it's just a happy accident. And when Ernie was a baby, I toured with a theatre show called Mum's the Word, 5 women doing monologues about the messy magic of motherhood. And I just took half of my wages, and I took a full-time nanny with me, and I took Ernie with me, and it was magic. We had the best time. It was just, I just made it work,
Parenting together can always be a bit interesting, and it sounds like you and Grant were really in amongst it together. Would you say you both parent in a similar way? Have you stayed on the same page? Have you done things differently?
Very similar, but, in the heat of the moment, you always do things you regret. And I think the one thing we've done is to always keep a united front with the kids. Like if he's yelled at them or lost his rag or whatever, we don't yell at each other, and we don't compound it by making it worse for the kids by having an argument in front of them. So it's hard to be perfect with your children. You're always going to have times where you wish you hadn't reacted in the way you do. But with kids, because you love them so much, the passion runs always, doesn't it? It runs towards the anger. They can spark you like nobody else to behave badly yourself. And I remember when they were young, it was learning not to match fire with fire. So don't match what they're doing. You just calm blue ocean. But sometimes it's hard to do that when you're tired and when you're, So if one of us did, drop the ball, we wouldn't compound it. We were always kind to each other, which is important.
Yeah.
That thing where parents are played off against each other or whatever, and it's just, it just doesn't go anywhere good. You've got to kind of always have a united front, I think.
Yeah.
And then if there is something that really needs to be dealt with, you deal with it, but you deal with it in a discreet way and not in front of your children.
How did you find the teenage years? Because we were talking with Petra, and her advice to parents coming up to them was just get excited, look forward to it. It's going to be great. Because I think sometimes parents almost feel like a storm's coming their way. How did you find them?
Unexpected, because my boys have been through the teenage years differently than I did. And again, you have this sort of narcissistic framework where you think somehow your children are going to repeat what you do, and they just don't. They're their own people. So neither of my kids have been drinkers or had issues with trying experimentation. In fact, I've had a son ring me from a party saying, "Oh, can you come and get me? I'm not comfortable because they're snorting nitrous," or something like that. And you go, "Yeah, I can come and get you," as opposed to, "Yeah, I'll try that." And then I know that. I was a "Yeah, I'll try that" kid. I was out there thinking I was 13 going on 42. Trying everything, thinking that that's what it is growing up. Whereas neither of our kids have done that. They've been much more cautious in their risk taking, which is but they've had much more issues with learning how to be happy, issues with more like how to find your happy place, so that's been more of an issue for my kids.
Yeah.
And also one child really did not like high school, And that was really weird for me because I loved school, and it was a situation where I really excelled. And again, you sort of think you were going to reproduce yourself, and you realise school is not for everybody. Even though schools do everything they can to be everything for everybody, it's broad brushstrokes, you know. So one of my sons, this is all very mysterious, isn't it, left school quite early, and it was in discussion with the deans, and he's never looked back. He's just was so much happier getting a job, and now he reads for recreation. He's like devours novels. I couldn't get him to read anything at high school, so it's been a really different thing. Whereas my sister's her experience of the teenage years has been much more risk taking, and the cars is the thing I've been worried about with my kids. But Stan doesn't want to drive and I'm going, yay. He just gets the bus. We live in Te Atatu now. He's a real urban city kid, just gets a bus, doesn't think anything of it. And Ernie does drive, and he's the most responsible, careful driver, and he's saved up and bought himself a car, and he's so awesome with that part of his adult moving forward, He's really responsible. Yeah. And because neither of them, Ernie will drink sometimes, but it's a real sometime thing. Neither of them do that teenage excess thing. And I was worried for a while because I was thinking, how will they ever get off with anybody? Because that's the New Zealand way. We're also emotionally repressed. Without alcohol, people don't do anything. They never express themselves. Well, that's my very bald-faced, analysis of it back in the day. But things have changed now. And so they're both in a stage where they're in really committed, beautiful relationships, and it's nice. It's just nice to see it blossoming. Yeah. Again, lots of stuff I can't say anything about and will not say anything about. No judgment. Learning to...
Speaking of blossoming relationships, I didn't realise how much you and Grant have worked together over the years. You've done docos and music videos. What's been your favourite collaboration other than the boys?
I have to say, taking him on tour with me when I did Jackie Goes Prima Diva, I did a month tour of mostly the South Island through a company called Arts on Tour New Zealand, which takes arts to the nooks and crannies that don't get served very well. And it's like really hard yakka. It's like 6 shows a week, different place every day, travelling in a van, old school. And I remember I did one of those in my 20s when the cat's been spayed, and it was really hard to get good food, which may sound weird, but you can't eat at good times. It's like, Dayna, you can't, either you're eating at 11 at night or like 5 in the afternoon, and you can't live on chips. Yeah. It's just, and I said to Grant, are you busy in July? Would you come away with us? And because he's a great cook, would you be like, just sort of keep the home fires burning for me while we're on tour? And he went, oh yeah, that would be interesting. Okay, cool. And at first I went, oh, is this going to kill my buzz? Because I have a very flirtatious relationship with my audience. I never second guess anything I'm saying. And having my partner there, I thought, oh, is this going to cramp my style in some way as I'm being this diva, larger-than-life diva, sensual, larger-than-life woman? But no, and he was amazing. I took a sound person and a piano player and me, and then was Grant on the road. He cooked every meal. He was doing the lights. He was doing the merchandise. And I just thought, why haven't I made you part of the touring unit? He was just amazing. And he said, oh, I'm sort of falling in love with you a little bit all over again. I've forgotten what you do. It's like, because, it's like if you're a plumber, your husband doesn't come and watch you plumb. But so he doesn't come to a lot of the things I do. So for him to watch me on stage and go, I'd forgotten how amazing you are. It's really lovely. And
it's just lovely.
Why have I waited so long to make him a part of it? So it was amazing. So when we go down to Palmerston North in September, he'll come with me, and he bought a multi-cooker. So he could make like a really good hearty stew or slow-cooked pork. Honestly, we ate so well.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it's so important when you go away to keep nourished. But he really looked after me. He took really great care of me and my crew, and it was it was incredible.
I've got to ask what the deal is with snow globes, because I had a look at his website and there was a snow globe, and then you've got all these publicity photos holding snow globes. What's the significance?
I've always had a love of kitsch, and a snow globe is something on its own that can look like a tacky piece of nothing, but in multiples, oh my God, they're beautiful. And I started collecting things when I was in my 20s, going on tour between sound check, and the gig. You'd have a few hours and you'd go for a stroll down we've done it, Dayna. You go to the op shops and you pick up all sorts of stuff. And I started collecting snow domes, and then people who would go places, my friends would know that I was, and they would start giving me snow domes. And then the internet kind of took off and I started buying them online. So I literally have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and they are beautiful.
Have you got in your home just walls full of them?
Yeah, Grant made me. He's an amazing cabinet maker. He made me a big, huge glass shelf with lights, and he's made me little shelves around that I can put little, I've got. I mean, we've recently downsized, but they're finding their way into, because we've got a place up north now. We spend a bit of time up there, so. Yeah.
You need to send us a photo. We have to put this on our socials.
Okay.
Your globe collection.
I just like stuff. A home to me is full of, honestly, my memory is so bad. If I don't have a physical talisman of something that's happened to us, I can't remember it. And photos are no longer available. You take a photo on your phone and it's gone. But the stuff I have, the stuff we have is... it's just everything. That's our life. And it's interesting because one son is leaned head first into that, and he's a real stuff guy. He likes collecting stuff. The other one is really aesthetic, and he's more like Marie Kondo. He's rejected that.
No joy here.
Well, no, he's really funny. He's like, Mum, you don't need more than 4 T-shirts, and you don't need more than 2 sets of sheets, and why have you've got all this stuff, you don't need it. He's had the complete opposite reaction to my love of stuff. Especially Manchester. I've got a thing about Manchester. My children are always rolling their eyes going, oh, he's off to a Manchester sale. Briscoe's, home away from home. Love that. Love that Egyptian cotton on sale. Why? But no, yeah, Ernie's he's sort of had the, your kids often react towards you or away from you, don't they? Mm-hmm. And he's got the complete opposite thing. He really just likes a few things carefully chosen, as opposed to my obsession with multiples.
I feel really good about your love of stuff because I have a support group for my own kind of need to do the op shops, and I've got more than 2 sets of sheets and stuff like that. So with your touring around New Zealand, and you've been many times, have you found a few gem spots along the way? Is there a favourite city or town?
I don't know. I'm a creature of habit. So in every town I go to, I'll have a certain cafe that I'll always go to. And if they change ownership or anything like that, I am heartbroken. I'm literally thinking, I don't know what to do. And there's places where Grant jokes that he thinks I've got a second family, like Tauranga, where I go, do lots of work. He's always joking, saying, give your grass to your other husband. But it's basically a whole coven of wives I have down there. I do lots of work with other women down there. And places like, Invercargill, Oamaru, I was going to lots. I sort of fell in with a steampunk festival and because fellow dresser uppers, and I would go down there a lot. But I don't know, I sort of, because we've got land and just built a little house in Northland. I love Northland. But funnily enough, it's not somewhere I perform very often, but I just love the feeling up there. I just love the connection to the ocean and the light and the space and that's the place I'd like to actually take my music there, because I'm aware that they are pretty much starved of, of the right to lose yourself in a song, which I think is a mental health tool that everyone should have.
Yeah.
Music, it can pick you up so quickly out of the blues, I sing in a choir, actually. I've sung in a choir since... I joined a choir when I was pregnant with Stan, so I've been in that choir for almost 25 years. And it's a Tuesday night thing, and sometimes it feels like, I can't be bothered going to choir, I'm too tired. But as soon as you get there, you just lose yourself in that being with, everything being larger than the sum of its parts, so that harmony, it's the most wonderful feeling to be inside a chord,
Yeah.
and just riding along with a group of people on a song. It just always lifts my spirit. It's amazing.
So with all the touring and the shows you've done, I feel like you'd probably have one of the best wardrobes in New Zealand. I love what you're doing today. Having boys, they may not have got the fabulousness of it. Have they appreciated it? And did you ever have a very low down kind of desire that you'd have a girl to appreciate the fabulousness of it?
Well, my nieces do appreciate it, but can I get them to wear my clothes? No. So they've all had these series of formals they've been to, and I got them over, and Robin said to me, "Oh, have you got something for Tuela to wear here?" And I've got all these gowns, and they won't wear them because because there's kind of a uniform that girls wear at high school where they want to feel like they belong, and so if you haven't got a low back satin shoestring strap bias cut slip, they don't want to wear it. It's so depressing. I've got all these beautiful gowns, which made me think, oh, am I dressing age appropriately if I'm trying to get my nieces into them? Too bad. But the wardrobe thing is interesting because I sort of take over every wardrobe in the house, and I've always had a massive walk-in wardrobe, and we had lived in a big old villa in Greylin with every room had a huge wardrobe, and I was sort of co-opting all of them. And I remember the day that Ernie chucked me out of his wardrobe in his room. He gave me an eviction notice with a timeline, and I was saying, you serious? No, I'm serious. This is my room, Mum. It's time for me to have my own wardrobe. And I was no support from the rest of the family. I had to get all my frocks and coats out of there. And then he ceremonially hung one T-shirt in the wardrobe and sat back with satisfaction and went, yeah, I was banished. I blame the parents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, parenting, we've mentioned this a little bit already. There is mess and there is magic. Where in your journey have you found, or right now, are you finding the magic in the mess?
I feel like our kids still like us. We still hang out together, so we still want to spend time together, and that's good. But I'm aware that all the good stuff, all the important stuff sort of happens away from you. It's them out in the world. You can't be sitting there looking over their shoulder. But the fact that we still hang out and want to hang out is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sort of waiting for the day when one of them lives in a different city. Stan did go down to Wanaka to hang out with family down there. We've got family down there, and that was sort of weird, not having them in the same city. But now that they've both got partners, I'm just waiting for that time when they're going to go off and live their life, and it's going to be like from a distance. But it's it's still early days. I feel like 24 and 21, because of COVID, there's been like this big hold on kids, that generation, getting on with their lives, and they're sort of still kind of coming out from under it and finding their direction professionally and all that sort of stuff. So there's still a lot to go on. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm just using my don't say anything skills at the moment to not try and force anything there. So it's not so much mess at the moment, but I'm waiting for the first heartbreak, and I'm waiting for the first real separation, which I'm not really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Mm. Jackie, I feel that you live a very rich, vibrant life. You do what you love in a place you adore with people you cherish. What's your dream for yourself over the next season of your life?
Well, funnily enough, I feel like I'm just kind of getting the hang of doing what I do at 58. I feel like I'm still definitely learning, and I'm still just kind of hitting my straps, so I don't feel like I'm going to retire anytime soon. But I would like to learn how to use my downtime better, because I'm sort of a workaholic, and because there's no boundaries with time in what I do, I can end up going down a rabbit hole where I'm working 12-hour days and endless gigs with different requirements all back to back, and then I collapse. And so my downtime is like semi-coma, as opposed to downtime going for a walk or catching up with friends. It's like, yeah, or nothing in between. So I just sort of would love to have a life where there's sort of more balance. And I am kind of anticipating having, more calls at some point, and I'm sort of looking forward to it, but not right now, children. No hurry. But certainly while I've still got two hips that work, and, because I remember I had children like early to mid-30s, which is sort of late. And I remember Ernie was like, my mum could hardly lift him up. She was a little old lady by then, and I was thinking, this is not working out. She literally didn't have the physical stamina to kind of help out in that way. So I want to be able-bodied enough to be a good granny.
It's looking good. With your boys in their 20s, and we know that there's still some self-discovery that's to go on, what would you and Grant hope that they've taken from the way you've parented them and the values that you've planted there? What would you hope they take into their journey in life?
Just teamwork and mutual respect and kindness, and the golden rule is treat others as you want to be treated yourself, and being really, it's not rocket science, it's just like basic good human skills. And I'm very proud that my boys are very independent men. They can cook me a meal, and they will cook me a meal, and they can do that. They do their own laundry, and they clean their own toilet. We've brought up very practical, domestic humans, which for boys I think is really important. And so they know that caring is not a one-way street of your parents doing everything for you. It's like how you live in a home, and you share that home, and you make that home work for everybody by sharing the joy. You share the labour, you share everything. You share the joy, you share the good times and stuff, but you also share all the work that takes it takes work to make a good home, and you're a team, So I hope they take that. I know they will, because I know they already do it in their private lives, and being, just being kind to each other. Like we've never been a big shouty household. We've been a kind of, of course we've lost our rag every now and again, but it's mostly been a very, we work things out.
There's some great things to have in their backpack. Love it. Especially love the teamwork, because I think in my role as a coach, I see less of it being kind of filtering through from parents. Often kids can be on their own device. They can be eating their own meals. They can be isolated. And there's something that is profound when we work as a team, and we know that contributing is a really important thing. So well done.
Thank you. You have to contribute wherever you are, and you have to also acknowledge, to be aware of how much other people give you. I know a lot of parents who I think have created this bottomless pit of, I know there's unconditional love, but you cannot be a slave to your children. You create bad people when you do that. Not bad people, but you create habits of entitlement that I think society can do without. A home can do without that, but certainly it has implications for the way you treat other people. You have to pull your own weight, and it's just, I think that's a really important thing for our kids to know. And also I think, as parents, you sort of, now we have quite different relationships with our kids, because we get on along with it's what the things we have in common as people. Like Stan and I are mad for cricket, so we have a cricket thing. Grant hates cricket, rolls his eyes, and just can't deal with when me and Stan are obsessed with a one-day game. And Grant and Ernie have a kind of they play pool once a week and shoot the breeze and catch up, and we sort of have quite separate relationships. Because we're sort of trying to see them as people, not just extensions of ourselves. But it's hard. That's a hard thing to get to. But I think that's All good.
Thumbs up over here. Hey, thanks so much, Jackie. That was lovely. I really enjoyed that time. The diva herself, I like how we're claiming that word back, diva. But yeah, Jackie Clarke, she's awesome. I want to go check out her snow globes and flick through her wardrobe. It would be lovely. Can we do part 2?
I'd love that too. Yeah, she was amazing. And I loved how she kind of owned herself and owned the earth she walks on. And I sometimes think we can be a bit hesitant. I really like that.
I loved this idea of the big family dream and the kids liking you still and wanting to be in your company and hanging out. It seems so simple, but actually for me, I've got, 2 young kids. And if I can look ahead and go, oh, they're still, what are you up to on Saturday, Mum? Like that would be a big dream. That would be pretty amazing.
And I think we work quite hard to put that in place. We're probably not aware of it, but as we listen to our kids and as we show them love and we're respectful, and we turn up to stuff and the relationship is good. It'll never be perfect. But what's wonderful is that we can have our kids want to circle back once they leave home and still want to hang out with us. And I think that's such a wonderful kind of parenting win, if I can say it like that, when your kids actually love being with you and want to hang out with you. And anyone like Jackie or parents out there, you're actually doing an incredible job if your kids are enjoying you and they like hanging out with you and they don't mind, going out for dinner with you or whatever it is. I think that's a real parenting win.
I think a real win too, just hearing Jackie talk about her relationship with Grant and just that idea too, that first 3 months of them doing everything together and just sitting there in awe is pretty special. But they really have this united front, which is really gold as well in parenting.
It is, and it's based on respect because in parenting, I think you've got to realise that both of you mostly have stuff to offer and have good things and areas of strength and weakness. And I think it's that respect for the other person, knowing that they'll do things that you'll sometimes want to roll your eyes at, but knowing that actually keeping the peace and the harmony is really good for your relationship and the dignity and respect that's needed there. But also for your kids, that they are amongst sort of a peaceful environment on the whole, and they're not having to take sides and be in that awful loyalty, disloyalty combo that gets set up when parents are fighting. We give our kids such a gift when parents can get on and give each other a little bit of slack and not override each other. It's easy for one parent to take the superior role, good cop, bad cop. And I loved how Jackie was able to just talk to us about how they navigated that and were kind of respectful, realising that they would also have to talk about some things later. Because there are some things where you think, we really are different here. And you've got to talk about your approach. They say it's the best security you can give your kids is when the parents can be on the same page.
I love all the different chats we do on this podcast. I listen and I go, I want more of that in my home, or, oh, that's something I need to work on. If you've been listening and maybe it's brought up a few things for you, do get in touch. Parents We've Met is brought to you by Parenting Place. So go check us out, parentingplace.nz.
Rover. Music, radio, podcasts.